Hi guys, this is Debbie with Debbie J's Crafting Corner. Welcome back to my channel. This video is part of the Card Hoppin video series. And this month we're doing some stamping with ink swiping and color blocking. I'm using some Distress ink cubes for all of my cards today. I find that they are the perfect size for this technique. So I'm starting off with 3 different colors. One is a blue, a yellow, and then that Kitsch Flamingo pink. And I am just swiping them all over my card in 3 little stripes, just 3 different areas. I will leave all of the colors down in the description below if you want to take a look at it. One thing I didn't notice until I did this is that my Kitsch Flamingo was very, very juicy because I just got that not long ago. So one other thing I'm having to do with all of these is I am hitting that with my heat tool to get it as dry as possible because I'm going to do a little heat embossing on this one. This first card, it was, I think, a little easier to get that completely dry before doing the heat embossing than the other 2. I think I didn't put quite as much ink down on the first one. And I'm using this Hummingbird. Anyway, Hummingbird Thanks from Pretty Pink Posh. Part of what we're supposed to do today is use our favorite stamps. Well, I don't have a favorite stamp set. I have a bunch of them that I love, and I haven't used this one in a while, so I figured I would do it this time. I'm inking those up with some Versafine Onyx black ink because it stays nice and wet, and then I can emboss over it. I am also using my anti-static tool on each of these cards because I don't want the heat embossing to go anywhere that I don't want it to. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and stamp each of these down. I did have to stamp a few times on here. I think I've mentioned to you guys in the past that I do have some issues with my my platform, probably because I have pressed too hard with magnets in place, and I think I have warped that cover, so it does take a bit more pressure for me to get everything perfect. So I inked this up a few times and stamped it down, but now I've got those 3 pretty little hummingbirds. I'm covering it in some Wow clear embossing powder, and then I'm going to heat that up with my heat tool. To finish up the cards, I did put a sentiment on there and layer that up onto a card base and added a few gems, and I just think this one turned out so lovely. For my second card, I'm going to add a couple of different colors down to get it ready for this Fresh Blooms Sketch Tulip Bouquet stamp from Simon Says Stamp. So I'm putting down some green for the stems, and then that Kitsch Flamingo again for the pink because I want my tulips to be pink. Now, I don't know that I got everything positioned quite the way I wanted, but it still turns out okay, I think. I'm also adding another little swatch of yellow. This one is going to be where I'm going to place my sentiment. Once I get all of that ink down, I am going to, again, hit that with my heat tool to get it nice and dry before doing any heat embossing. Now, this time I'm going to go ahead and put some of my embossing powder down to check it, which is what I should have done the first time. And I'm glad I did. There are a couple places on here that didn't get as dry as I needed to, so I need to hit it again with that heat tool to finish drying that ink. Okay, that is a lot better. Now I can go ahead and position that tulip stamp in my stamp platform so I can emboss that pretty flower. I am using my anti-static tool again just to be on the safe side. And I just realized why I had so much trouble getting this stamp to actually stamp. I can see on that platform lid the word clear up at the top on the clear platform part. It's basically on backwards. I have it set so that this is for a rubber stamp, but this one is a clear stamp. So I had to stamp this one down many more times than should have been necessary. You can probably see that. That clear that's up in that upper left-hand corner in red should be at the bottom, not the top. So I stamped this down a few times with the unicorn white pigment ink from Hero Arts, and I'm putting some Recollections white embossing powder over that. It does still get some good coverage because I stamped so much, but I think the lines are probably not as fine as I would have liked. Still turns out pretty. I'm going to go ahead and hit that with my heat gun, and you can just see all that white pop. I finished up this card pretty much the same way that I did the last one. I used the torn edge die from Gemini to die cut that panel and a piece of gold foil paper, and then layer that up onto my card base. For my last card, I decided to do the color blocking a little bit differently. At least I think this is still considered color blocking. I am putting down 3 colors of blue ink, basically in kind of sort of striped but ombre, and I'm going ahead and using my larger blending brush for this. This does help me get the ink down there a lot easier. One thing to note though, this does take a lot longer than if you want to do ink swiping. Ink swiping is a really fast and easy way to get ink down. I decided to go with a darker color after I had already picked out my 3, and I'm going to put this one down at the bottom. This last one is Chipped Sapphire. Again, I will list all of the colors and such down in the description if you're interested in what I'm using. Anyway, I'm putting all of those colors down. This one is a sympathy card, so I'm wanting somewhat muted tones instead of those bright colors. I'm also adding some water droplets using my Distress sprayer for a little bit of texture in the background. Next, I'm going to be using a stamp set from May Made It. It's called Sorry, and it has got these lovely little dandelions. For the sentiment, I'm also using the Simon Says stamp Sympathy Greetings mix. There is a pretty sentiment in there that says, "Forever remembered, always loved," and I thought that that would go perfect together. So first I'm putting down some anti-static powder, testing it out to make sure that my panel is completely dry like I expect it to be. I did hit it with my heat gun off camera. Now I'm positioning those little dandelions down in the lower left-hand corner. I went ahead and positioned that, that sentiment as well. Then I'm going to just add some, again, some more anti-static powder just to be on the safe side, and then I'm going to stamp this down with some Wow Embossing Ink. For this card, I'm going to be heat embossing instead with some of my gold embossing powder from Recollections. I need to use this gold up, and it is just so pretty, and I thought that that would just be perfect for this simple card. So after adding that embossing powder, I noticed a little bit of a boo-boo here. My second part of my sentiment didn't come up well, so I am just wiping that one off, and I'm going to re-stamp it. Next, I'll go ahead and heat everything up with my heat gun and melt all of that real pretty gold. I did notice one area that didn't have enough embossing powder, so I'll go ahead and cover it. And then I'm going to heat up the rest of my panel. So now I need to stamp down that second part of the sentiment. So I've laying everything down over a piece of acetate and trying to make sure that I've got everything pretty much in the right spot. I think I did wind up with it being slightly off, but I think it is pretty much close enough. So I'm double checking it, looks pretty good from that angle, and then I'm going to use a piece of Post-it tape to mask off the rest of that sentiment, because I don't need to restamp it, and if I restamp it and re-emboss it and it's not exactly lined up, then it could cause it to look really, really, really bad. So I'm just inking up that second part of that sentiment with my embossing ink and wiping off any excess from the extra parts on the sides. One thing I probably should have remembered is that moisture also collects embossing powder. So when I pour down the embossing powder, it does go over a little bit of that sentiment. But of course, that is an easy fix. I just need to wipe it off with a dry brush. That finishes up this project for today. Thanks for dropping in, and don't forget to smash that like button and leave a comment down below to let me know what you think of this technique. If you haven't already, I'd love for you to consider subscribing and hit the little notification bell so that you never miss one of my videos. Be sure to check out the rest of the hop, because I know there will be a lot of inspirational projects for you to see. Here are some other videos that I know you'll enjoy. Thanks again for dropping by, and remember, if I can make it, you can too.